Yes.
Hello, today we have an interview with three very important women, Heidi Hutner, Beth Drazba, and Paula Kinney. Heidi is the director of the film Radioactive, The Women of 3 Mile Island. So I'll let Heidi start. Heidi, can you tell us about how you started the film?
Oh, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Ed, for inviting us to come on and speak with you. And so, yes, I am the director of Radioactive, The Women of 3 Mile Island. And I got started because I'm a professor and I am a writer, and I was doing a lot of work on women in nuclear history. And I would be I was invited, I'm still invited many times to go and speak at different locations where different folks are impacted by nuclear disasters. And I was publishing on this, and I met a cameraman who said, you should make a documentary based on your work. It's so fascinating. So we were actually trying to decide where and what communities to focus on when I was invited to come speak at the 39th anniversary of the meltdown at 3 Mile Island. And when I was invited, I said, well, I know a lot about women in nuclear history, but I actually haven't done much research on 3 Mile Island. I knew the sort of general information. And the woman who invited me her name is Christine Lehman. And that's okay. We would really like you to come. So I spoke to my cameraman and I said, well, why don't we go? I live in New York, it's driving distance. And he said, okay. So we went, and then we were looking for something, interesting to film other than just me talking and a panel, because I was speaking as part of a panel. And there was a script of what was happening over the days of the commemoration of the 39th year of the meltdown. And I saw that there was a vigil being held at 4 a.m. outside of the nuclear power plant. So we decided to go to that. And we went, before 4 a.m., I don't know, 3:45 in the morning. And we were driving down, the road that passes the power plant. It was dark, it was misty, you can't see anything. All we could see was an Exelon sign. And the information in the pamphlet telling us the different events said, it's outside of the nuclear power plant. You couldn't see the plant, just the sign Exelon lit up. So we thought, well, I guess that must be where we're supposed to go, but there was nobody there, and it was dark and you couldn't park. And so we pulled onto a side street, and then we were still wondering, are we in the right place? And drove up was Paula in her silver car with the eyelashes on the headlamps, and four ladies. And they're we could see them talking, and as they passed us, I think, Paula, you rolled down your window, and I said, are we in the right place? Is this where the vigil is? And she said, yes, you are. And they proceeded to take us by the arm and lead us over. And that is really the beginning of our film. And that's how it started. And it's actually the opening of the film. And when we came back and looked at the footage later in the hotel room, when I first went down, we weren't sure that this would be the place we'd make the film about. We knew, as I said, were many places that I had studied and had relationships with women who had been impacted by different disasters, many places, and including Japan and Rocky Flats in Colorado, and locally to me at Indian Point nuclear power plant. So, but we went back and we looked at that footage in our hotel room, and I started crying. That was it. I knew we had our film.
Beth, I must confess that I've known Beth and Paula for many years. We were high school classmates in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So how did you, what was your reaction when the meltdown happened? You were living near the plant?
Yes, Paula and I both lived within the 5 mile radius, and it was a quiet day that day. And ironically, my daughter was coming down the street with a paper bag on her head, and she had the eyes cut out, and she said that they were sent home from school because there was something going on down at 3 Mile Island. Well, I put the news on, and it was, very, very concise, and to the point that there was no major impact on the citizens, and to just watch it and whatever. So the kids came home, the kids came home that day from school then, and everything seemed okay at that point. We were trusting them and what they were saying. Ironically, my daughter was in the host dinner theater doing Gypsy that night. So I was up there watching the show and waiting to pick her up when a big announcement came by about the possible explosion and whatever. So then it got real scary on Thursday. And Paula, you'll agree on that in the same point. I mean, by Thursday, we were like, we're not sure. Friday, Ed, I'll tell you something. I was watching the 12 o'clock news. Bishop Joseph Daly came on the news at 12 o'clock on Friday and said there was general absolution for all Catholics within the 5-mile radius. And I knew we were in trouble, because I remember my dad saying when they would go to battle, the priest would always give them general absolution in case they didn't come back. I called my husband and Paula. We're kind of mimicking both what we did in a sense. We called our husbands. My husband was on the West Shore, which was like a half hour away. Hers was in Harrisburg. We said, hey, there's something really bad going on. They're sending the kids home. They won't let us pick up Tim at his school. And it was just utter chaos, utter chaos, utter chaos. But
You couldn't get a phone line. The phone lines were all busy. They didn't have cell phones at that time. Sirens were going off. It malfunctioned. My husband worked for the state in Harrisburg. The sirens went off, they malfunctioned. People were running in different directions. It was complete chaos.
Yeah.
That is true. It was awful. Awful.
And
well,
were they giving you different messages about
Oh, yes.
stay in,
Close your
don't stay
windows.
in, close your
Yes,
windows?
yes,
Right.
absolutely. If you live in a brick house, do this, open
Yes.
your windows, close your windows. We
Right.
didn't know what to do.
Right, honestly. And it was, you just, and I've never really experienced it. We grew up, that small town, we believed in the church and the government and everything. That day when they stood there, you almost got the feeling that they were struggling, lying to us, but they were going to lie.
so
That's
that's what motivated you to get involved in this protest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I speak for myself. When this happened and Walter Cronkite was talking about a millirem and a rem and all these containment, but I had no idea.
Right.
I had no idea what it meant. So I thought, well, I'm going to educate myself and find out what happened. I wasn't angry. I just wanted to know what happened. And when I went to the different meetings locally, which really turned out later to be PR programs for the industry, they would say one thing at one meeting and then something completely different to the same question. And eventually I realized they're either lying or they don't know what they're doing. Neither one was comforting.
Right.
Yeah, it was very scary. And I, as you and the three of us graduated in 65, and I was so upset with the people protesting and marching down Pennsylvania Avenue against the war. And I was so angry. How could they do that? How could they question our government? The government wouldn't do anything. Oh, how naive I was. How naive. And I was on the same Pennsylvania Avenue protesting eventually.
Right.
So it really changed your life.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
100%.
There's no denying that.
100%.
You know me, I was, we were kind of quiet in school, in that sense, but I found my voice with 3 Mile Island, and I just made up my mind. And with the four of mothers that are involved in the documentary with Heidi, we were all together in our community because sports, the kids all played softball, baseball, soccer, whatever. So we'd see each other all the time. We went to the same church. We're all Catholic girls, you know. So when we finally kind of went to the Liberty Firehouse meeting, which was the disruptive meeting where all hell broke loose, we kind of got together after that in Joyce's kitchen, which was our strategy room, had coffee and said, you know, we need to find out the truth, but we don't want to become anti and we don't want to be pro, we want to be pro-truth. And so that's what kind of drove us away from the anti-nuclear, but kept us on a level where we were able to get access to the NRC and a one-to-one with some of the top brass a lot of times because we were so non-threatening. I really think they thought we were stupid. And we were in many and naive, but it was the innocence of us that they really just didn't know how to deal with. They didn't know how to like get rid of us because we weren't anti and we weren't going to the press talking about them. We were there every week asking questions and they were lying through their teeth to us.
Yes, we met with Lake Barrett every week.
Every week for 2.5
Absolutely
years.
lying.
Absolutely lying to us.
That's something, we went in with educate us, you know, what happened and so on, but it was very clear to us. I mean,
They're still lying. They're still lying. You know,
of course.
when I interviewed Lake Barrett, he said, well, they didn't, you know, just to be clear, because I didn't know this coming in, and I found this utterly shocking. So there were 3 key days
Yes.
which the meltdown disaster took place. Day 1 was Wednesday, and the meltdown began on Wednesday very early in the morning.
Absolutely.
Yes.
They told no one, and to this day they say they didn't know. But if you see the film, it's totally clear they knew. They had to know.
Oh, they did.
And so everybody was just going, they were letting all of these beautiful people and their family and their children go about their day. And it wasn't until Friday, 2.5 days later, that they had this evacuation.
Exactly.
Only for pregnant women and families with small children.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
You guys were completely exposed for, you know, for that 24-hour period where there was a huge release of radiation.
Right.
And they absolutely knew. And to this day, they say that they didn't know.